do I have a fun podcast episode for you today. This is a concept that I first heard of through a business coach, yet I realize I've been using it in individual coaching sessions and in our Midlife Warrior group with mindset coaching for years. Just this past weekend, I was weeding away, just going about my business, weeding, trying not to get bit by some poisonous Australian spider. And I noticed that I was using this business concept, this quote unquote business concept that I'm going to speak of today. It was bringing me greater life satisfaction in the moment, even though I was doing nothing business-like. And so that led me to be like, why have I not done a podcast on this yet for my warriors? If this is a practice that leads to feeling better in our everyday life, isn't that something we're all up for? So put your earbuds in and let's go. This episode's for you.
Hi, this is the Love Your Life Show with Susie Pettit, Certified Life and Wellness Coach. Join Susie as she helps you with your wellness and mindset so you can live a life you love. Let's go, warriors!
Oh, warriors, welcome to another week with me, Susie Pettit, your Certified Life and Wellness Coach. I am thrilled that you tuned in this week to learn about this concept that brings greater life satisfaction to those who use it. And while this is a concept that may have originated with Dan Sullivan and the strategic coach and sort of the business world, it's a concept that I, as a mindset coach, use all over my life. And I am so excited to share it with you as it greatly impacts the amount of life satisfaction that I feel. And that's what I'm all about, helping you live a life you love. Name of this podcast. So today, I'll dive into what it is, why we are likely running in the gap if we haven't brought consciousness to this, how being aware of whether you're thinking in this way is helpful to you in all aspects of your life, not just business. And then, you know me, I'm going to give you a tactical tool to practice thinking and using this tool in a helpful way. So first, what is it? This is called gap versus gain. Okay? What is gap versus gain? If you're a subscriber of the show or a listener of the show, I argue that you are already of a different caliber and engaging in a different level of conscious living than the average human. You most likely set goals and spend time thinking of how you want your future to be. Maybe you have ideas of how you want to eat healthier or how to establish a bedtime routine for you and your family. Or maybe you have some fitness and mobility goals, or have given some thought to your future finances and want to have some goals there. You might have an idea of what you want, maybe financial freedom, to weigh less, to yell less, and you work with a coach or an expert to take small steps to achieve that goal. Well, this is where the gap and gain come into play with people like us who are setting goals and having vision for our future lives. Okay, gap thinking occurs when we're in the process of taking action to reach our goal and we focus on how much we have left to do or what we've done wrong and haven't done yet. Okay. Gain thinking occurs when we look backwards to where we started and focus on what we have done and the progress we've made. So if you picture sort of a continuum and you're in the middle, like a line, okay, gap thinking looks ahead at how much more down the line more you have to do. Gain thinking, you look back at where you started. Gap thinking measures our progress and success against this future external unattainable ideal that we've set for ourselves. Like we don't, anyhow, it's in the future. Down the line. Gain thinking is self-reflective and internally driven. We look at where we started and the progress we made. We keep our eyes on our own lane. We don't look at what Sally and Jane are doing in their families as a mom or in their business or in their weight loss goals. Okay, we keep our eyes focused on what we're doing. What is Susie doing? How has Susie gotten better? So this week, let's bring some focus as to whether we are focusing on the gap or the gain. Do you focus on how much more you still need to do or on how much you've gotten done? Okay. We're conditioned, just by the way, as a sort of like give yourself a break slip, we're conditioned to focus on that gap. Okay. To focus on how much more we need to do, how we're not living up, how we aren't. So that's the natural, that's sort of the go-to. And now we just want to focus. We want to actually bring attention to how that's an option. Okay. For us, it doesn't have to be like, we don't have to beat ourselves up in that way. We have a choice. Are you in the gap or are you in the gain? So let's look at a couple examples. You guys love examples. Take weight loss as an example. It's a good one. Okay. Say you want to lose 20 pounds. You just pick this number. You thought losing 20 pounds is going to help you really like become your best self, push some goals, unearth some thinking that maybe isn't helpful for you. Okay. So you work with your coach to come up with a game plan and you decide you're going to measure your success by getting on the scale at the end of every other week. So say you get on the scale after 2 weeks and you see you've lost a pound. Do you focus on the gain of how you've lost a freaking pound? Hooray! Oh my gosh, yay. Okay, I'm on my path of progress. Or do you focus on how many more you have to lose? Like, oh my gosh. Okay, do you see that feeling state that comes from your focus? If you were thinking, yay, I've lost a pound, how are you going to feel? And what action are you going to take from there? Versus if you were thinking, oh my gosh, I have 19 more and Sally's lost 12 and then, all that drama. How are you going to feel and what action are you going to take? Another example, say you want to improve your sleep and you decide you're going to plug your phone in each night at 9 p.m. away from you. Okay. You make an accountability chart for yourself and you check a box when you plug in your phone at 9. You get to the end of the week and there are 5 checks in the 7 boxes. What do you focus on? Gap thinking focuses on those 2 blanks, how you didn't do all 7. Okay? It brings your focus to what you didn't do. Gain thinking brings your focus to the fact that you freaking did 5 nights. Okay, are you starting to see a difference here? It's all back to that thought model too, that think, feel, act. When we're thinking, yay, I did 5, you're feeling more energized. You're more likely to take proactive action. When you're thinking, oh God, I didn't do 2, I suck, you're more likely to feel discouraged. And what kind of action do you take from that place? Okay. Example 3, say you have a goal where you want to yell less as a parent. And you and your coach come up with a strategy where you use the urge jar that I talked about last week in the podcast. And you take 3 deep breaths before you yell. Okay. Say you have 5 marbles in that urge jar from where you had the urge to yell and you took your 3 breaths and didn't yell. But then on the 5th urge, you yelled. What do you focus on? I could go on and on with examples, as I'm sure you can see. This is not just a business concept. Okay. When you measure yourself in the gap, you simply cannot be happy. You can be successful, even highly successful, but you will feel unhappy, frustrated, and like you're not good enough. Okay, since I am the coach to many high achievers, it's super important for me to notice and to see how they're thinking about the circumstances of their lives. Okay, because this is a common feeling among many. Okay, a typical sign of gap thinking is getting to your goal or getting close to your goal, and having that feeling of, oh, I thought this would feel different. I thought I'd feel better here. And then you immediately go to that next goal instead of pausing and being like, wow, look at me. Okay. I am so glad to bring this knowledge to you so you can consciously choose to practice gain thinking, more of us feeling good about what we're getting done in this life, because I see you doing a lot. Gain thinking is all about looking at the progress we're making. It's a mindset shift where we recognize the progress we've made. We feel happier, more satisfied, more successful. Gap thinking is all about focusing on that one cloud on the sunny day. Gap versus gain work is a deep mindfulness practice with big rewards for us Love Your Life show high achievers. I've done a lot of podcasts where I speak of the importance of normalizing discomfort and fear in our body, noticing it's there and doing it anyways. It's part of the journey, part of the growth cycle. I've done an equal amount of podcasts on the importance of setting goals and looking to the future with excitement and energy, not getting caught in the drift. expanding. And so it's super, super, super important to be aware of this gap versus gain distinction. It is the foundation for us in feeling happy and content while we're on this betterment journey of goal setting and creating these awesome futures. As high achieving warriors, it's imperative that we're aware of how we measure our success. Are we rating ourselves against an external ideal? Or are we looking internally to rate and support our awesome selves? As a mindfulness-based cognitive coach, I know we won't feel better there if we aren't growing and expanding on the journey. Okay? There is no magic there. Our whole life is a journey. Sometimes this can feel sort of harsh, but it's true. Our whole life is a journey of self-exploration and self-betterment. I don't believe we will ever get to an end point where we feel ease and zero mental chatter. Why? I don't know. I did not design humans. I did not put the adult and the child brain in the same head. If I had a magic wand, maybe I would do things differently, but I don't. Okay. What I do know is that the way we're wired and the way we are designed, we are either growing or shrinking. And since I am always going to argue for that bigger life, that expansion of humans and the human experience, the more time we can spend in the gain over the gap, the better we're going to feel. I believe our journey here on earth is to continually refine ourselves over and over and over again so that we can best shine our light out and influence this world. And that means we're never going to reach that end point. And so how are we going to feel on the way? What are we focusing on? In my new location, I've spent a lot of time looking at the horizon on the beach. It's a beautiful place here. Okay, and I like thinking of that horizon when gap versus gain thinking comes up. Okay, say you're in a you're in a rowboat and you're working on sort of your distance endurance and you choose to take the boat out and row towards the horizon. You start rowing. If you're constantly looking to the horizon as your measure of success, you're never going to feel happy and content. I hate to tell you. You never reach that horizon. You're always going to be focusing on the gap. You're never going to get there. Whereas if you pause and look back at where you started, pause your rowing and look at how far you've come. Think of how much smoother your stroke is now than when you started. How you're breathing in a more regulated way. Okay, you're going to feel what, warrior? Do you see? Do you see how one focus of attention leads to feeling one way while another leads to a very different way? Whoa, what's that I'm saying? Our thoughts create our feelings? What? Yes, there's that thought model again. Okay, where are you directing your thoughts, warriors? Use this week to think of whether you are a gap or gain focused, like whether you're in the gap or in the gain in a variety of different areas of your life. Just try to bring this tool with you as you move through your life. Say you want to be healthier and take better care of your body. Are you focusing on how you still eat ice cream at night and beating yourself up for that? Or are you focusing on how you got out for a walk 4 days this past week? Say you're a mom and you've been working on your yelling. Are you focusing on how you lost your freaking mind last night? And beating yourself up and thinking thoughts like, I'm such a bad mom. Or are you thinking, wow, I sure did lose my mind. I sure did yell loud last night. But oh my goodness, I haven't yelled since Tuesday. Or I didn't yell since this morning. That was the first time I yelled today. Look at that. Focusing more on your gain. Knowing we are imperfect as humans and we must start somewhere. Hey, how about financially? Are you focusing on the impulse buy last night on Amazon? Or on the 4 nights before that you used the urge jar and didn't click buy now? Okay. This leads me to an important part of this podcast, because sometimes when I encourage people to look at how far they've come, to stop for a bit of a yay me moment, as I call them, okay, to allow themselves to feel pride, They resist and think they can't stop for those feel-good moments. That if they stop, they won't have progress, that that's not the way to get this lasting behavior change. They think they need to strong-arm themselves to be some sort of mean interdisciplinarian who points out their failures. Okay, to beat themselves up for eating the ice cream or spending the money or yelling at the kids. That's what's going to help. Okay, that's sometimes how we were raised. And yet, study after study after study after study show that positive long-term behavior change does not come from a feeling state of shame or blame. And that feeling state is what gap thinking produces. Long-term behavior change comes from being that compassionate observer of ourselves, from making the mistakes us humans are going to make and choosing to focus on the gain. Doing the opposite of what many of us have been taught as kids, and to embrace our growth, to allow for the human journey. No, we're not going to get it perfect the first time, but we are starting. We are trying, and that's gain. Long-term life satisfaction comes from allowing ourselves to take that messy action. Long-term life satisfaction comes from narrowing our focus from concern about what everyone else is doing or what they're thinking, and to bring it internal. What are we doing? What do we think of ourselves? Long-term life satisfaction is about keeping our eyes on our own race, our own journey, our own weight loss, journey, our own parenting style, and feting the progress we've made. And so this week, I hope you have many moments where you notice you're in the gain, or where you catch yourself in the gap and you switch to the gain. I know I see your gains. I celebrate you. And one tactical way I practice the habit of gain thinking myself is by pausing at the end of the day and writing down my daily gains. That reminds me, I also have a tool that I use with my family that if you're interested in that, DM me on Instagram or email me. But my practical for myself is I practice daily and I write down my gains. Sometimes there's one, sometimes there's more. But I stop each day. I have a journal by my bed and I make it mandatory that I just write something down that I did that day that I'm proud of. Was this hard at first? Yes. I found myself discounting my actions or not allowing myself to celebrate something imperfect or that wasn't done yet. Psst, that's gap thinking. I also hear from many of you that it feels uncomfortable to do this, to celebrate ourselves, because you think that you're being boastful or bragging. No, that's our conditioning. To think that us pausing to reflect on our awesomeness somehow takes away someone else's awesomeness, or that it's not ladylike. Oh my God, talk about a patriarchal message. F that. Okay. One of my favorite exercises, I think I've talked about it before in this podcast, but one of my favorite exercises that I do with my middle school magic group is I turn off the light and I have one of them, I say, turn your phone flashlight on. Okay. Then I have another one turn hers on. And we note how the first girl's light didn't dim. Yet, when they had two lights on, there was more light in the room. And then we have another turn hers on and we see how, again, no one's light went out or dimmed. Rather, more light, more brightness, more goodness was shining out in the world. Boastful schmostful. Let's break through that conditioning. Shine your light. Celebrate your awesomeness. Push past that discomfort when you write down something you've done well of or when you share it at the dinner table. Okay? That messy progress you're making is one of the most, sharing that messy progress you're making is one of the most benevolent things you can do for the universe. Okay? Pause and let that go. If you, next time you get a thank you or you get a compliment, okay, someone says thank you for something or you get a compliment, pause. Let that sink in. Okay? Begin to wire your brain for gain thinking and model that out into the world. Onward we journey, dear warriors. Gain thinking for us all. And hey, if you like this episode, can you think of one person to share it with? pretty please. I know many of you have already left reviews for the Love Your Life show. If you haven't done that, that would be my second ask, because that helps me so much get this message out to more people so we can shine our light more in this world. Okay, but today, if you've already done the review, can you think of one person to share this episode with that might benefit from hearing about gap versus gain? I mean, who wouldn't? Okay, but the more of us who are in the gain, the better for us all. The more we're in that dark room with my little middle schoolers shining our friggin' light and feeling proud and lit up. One warrior at a time, warrior. Let's go. Who can you share this with?
Thank you for listening to the Love Your Life show. If you want to hear more from Susie and support the show, be sure to subscribe to this podcast on iTunes. Also, leave a review and share this podcast with friends and family. Go get 'em, warriors.